Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. We are live for another demo. Let's get started. Let's talk less and paint more. So let me check if this is actually streaming. Please leave a comment to let me know you're watching and that it is working. You know, we have so many, I've had so many technical issues that I'm always a bit anxious if it's gonna work or not, or let's see what happens. All right. Let's do this. So I'm going to change a little bit the composition. I thought there's too much dark in here. So all this, the background will be the table, and then on this side I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna keep the edge of the table and add another edge. We have edge on this side, right? So let's do this. My background is orangish. It's a warm painting, so I think I'm going to sketch with a reddish color. So we're gonna see the better the composition. So where does it start? I'll mark where does it start, okay, and where does it end. So it's about 1/3, and then almost half here, half and half. So connect the edge. Here I'm going to decide that I just want a little bit, a little corner here. You can have more edge or less, it's up to you. All right. Now this time we have 3 shapes. Okay. A circle, an oval, and an oval shape. So to place them, I'm going to consider that this is just one block. So I find the top first. I make sure there's enough room between the apple and the edge. And then I'm going to place the left side. Now the bottom. As you can see, I'm still using my 1/2-inch brush. That's my favorite brush for this, all the demos I've done so far. And then the right side, that is, well, we could say 1/8 of an inch, okay, from the edge to here. It doesn't have to be exactly, right? It can be more, but this helps me place my shapes. So that's the big shape. I can see that from this side it curves to the bottom of the apple. And then this side it's a straight line. And from this right side to the top, well, it's kind of curvy, so I'm going to paint like a curve. There's more room here on this side because I want to show the shadow of the on the table. So that's how I get my composition easily, if not quickly. The big shape, the table, that's an empty space, and I know because I placed this big shape on a table, I know how much room I have to place my apple and the two halves. I can divide even more, right? So let's do that. It's going to be the right side of the half. And the top of the half apple is halfway. Get this shape here. And then here I have the right side of the full apple. And then here, it's not quite a circle, it's not quite an oval. So I'm going to eyeball the shape. And that's what I get. Right? A big shape, three smaller shapes. I know the width is right. The height, the width is right. So now I can start shaping my basic shapes. I chop the square, it becomes a circle. I draw an oval shape here. Right, so that's how I get my composition quickly or easily. Now what's next? Oh, and before I paint more, I made this small mistake on my palette. Leave a comment and let me know if you notice if there's something wrong on my palette this time. Okay? Next, as always, I'm going to paint the big shapes, the table, the empty spaces. So it's going to be a wooden table. As always, it keeps you practicing wooden texture and colors. And then I paint the dark colors, the reds, and the yellowish white last. All right, let's do this. I always paint the background as a warm-up. I don't have to think about the details, the textures, the shadows, the highlights. I just basically splash the canvas with colors, with the colors I'm going to play with. All right. I don't have any brown. I hope you remember how to make brown from these primary colors. Right. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you play with it, even though you can see what I'm doing. If you watch my previous videos, you know how to get brown. All right. I use the brown I have here, so it's dark, and then I would add more white to make it lighter around the on this side. Too much. I'm not looking for the perfect color on the for the table. I know I want something, a brownish color, so it can be any shade of brown. for you guys. That's what I'm saying. And you don't have to follow exactly the same patterns, right? It's good practice for you to figure out how to render a wooden texture. So it's very fun because we're not worried about the exact colors. I encourage you to mix your colors directly on the canvas because that's where the magic happens, not on your palette. So now it's time to add some light brown. Because there's a lot of red in my mix, you're going to have a pinkish tone. It's very nice. So remember, I paint with a big brush, so I'm not tempted to paint the details because we're working in a loose, practicing a loose style. The process is more important than the finished product. You practice color mixing, blending, and you try to understand how you can control the paint. How many seconds you have before it dries. But that's okay because you make a mistake. I don't like to call it mistake, but you make something when it's not right, you can always fix it later on. The next stage, it's just paint. That's why my business name is Paint Anyway. Whatever happens, paint, and you're going to learn something by making mistakes or by getting something that you don't like, right? You learn one stroke at a time how to make adjustments. Beginners tend to think that they can get it done in a few strokes, but it takes more than a few strokes and it takes a few layers. It depends on what you have in mind. So I'm playing with different colors. I think it starts to look like a wooden table. So to make this table stand out, I'm going to paint the empty spaces. So going back to making more brown And I'm adding blue to get a almost a dark gray color. It doesn't have to be gray as long as you get something darker than the table that makes it stand out. That's the plan. Because you're painting in a loose style, leave your edges soft. Right? You don't want your edges to look like you used a Sharpie. That's dark enough. I'm gonna make it darker. I'm gonna add blue directly on the canvas and more brown also. There you go. That really makes the table stand out. There would be a second pass. The table could be better, but at least it stands out. All right, I'm going to finish the upper right corner of the table. I'm adding more yellow. I don't want this to be too dark because I have the dark shadows of this apple. And I think that's good enough for the table. All right, so speaking of shadows, because they're behind the apples, I'm going to paint the shadows first. So the shadows, a shadow starts from the base of the element. If you place it lower, it's going to look like your apple is floating. Don't want that. So there might be a glare on this side because of the lighting. So if this is it's a little bit greenish, it's okay. I just put too much blue and yellow with my red. That's okay. Just the first pass. I'm just establishing more shapes. The apples, the shadows, and the textures on the table. I think I'm going to paint the apples a little bit bigger. They're kind of small. There's a lot of table around them, so I'm going to paint the shadows first and then work on bigger shapes. So I did my brown and I'm just adding blue to make the shadows darker. And they're not black, right? Otherwise, I mean, a solid black wouldn't work. It's not realistic. It's not brown either because you have all these colors, the colors of the table affecting this new brown. So it doesn't have to be the perfect color, right? You just want a darker color so it reads like shadows, right? And to make these two shadows stand out, I'm going to paint the table a little bit lighter. So I'm just adding white. I grab whatever color I have on this side and there you go. It stands out more. One pinch of red because there's some pinkish on the table. All right, it's not bad. Now, let's work on the apples. I'm just playing here. You can do the same. I want to see more textures, so you don't have to do it. It's something I saw and I wanted to adjust that. All right, let's work on the apples and then we can always go back I'm going to start with the full apple and I'll start with the red. All right. So just pure red, just something very bright. There's not much, right? But I want to see the relationship between the table, the dark shadows, and the red. It is too red, so I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to make it now more orangey. Again, we're practicing, so if you don't get the same colors, that's okay. You just want something lighter. Understanding the process and what you're doing and how you can control the paint is more important than getting the colors right. That's a nice orange, so I'm going to paint the top. And I'm going to use more paint to cover the table because I want the apples to be bigger. There you go. Same thing on this side. There you go. That's better. They're more present. It's a nice circle. I mean, nice round shape. I like that it's bigger, takes more room, it looks better. Always think about how much room the different elements take, right? Right, now let's work on the yellow parts. Because the background is like rosy, the base color is rosy, it affects the yellow I just painted. So I'm going to need more white to make the skin brighter. The yellow brighter, not to mention there's a bright white reflection right there, which I'll paint later. I just want a nice lemon yellow. There we go. By doing so, I start to give the round shape, give the like a sphere. And once I paint the hole, it's going to look more like a sphere. Right? So I like my dark red. I like the red here. I like the orange and the yellow. I'm going to make the yellow lighter, a little bit lighter. So less white, more yellow. There we go. That's brighter. It stands out more. I like that. All right, let's do the same thing on the half. So it can be a different approach this time. Remember I made this bigger, so I want these to be bigger also. Right? The apples are about the same size, so it needs to be bigger. So there's more top, white top, than the red bottom. So the easy way to do that is you start with the red. It's about 1/3 of red and 2/3 of white, yellow. So that's the bottom that is lighter than, no, the top is lighter than the bottom. So I'm going to use red and mix it with my brown to paint the bottom darker. I used more paint to cover the table. I want it darker. So I'm making brown again. Well, I should say brown red, right? It's more red than brown. This side. One more time this side. And now I'm going to paint in the shadow. So like dent in. You could do it later too, once you paint the white. I just wanted to place the shadow So now let's paint the white. The white one is not completely white, right? The center is yellowish, and because of the warm light, the white is just warmer. Okay? It's not Snow White. So a lot of white, just one pinch of yellow, and let's paint this oval shape. So one stroke at a time, right? The red was not dry. I caught it with my white. Now it's pink. So I need to let this dry before adjust it. A lot of white. So it's a nice coverage. It's probably too yellow, so I'm going to dull my yellow by adding a little bit of brown, especially for the center. Okay, one stroke at a time to control the shapes. Oh, okay, let me show you again. Okay, we're going for brown. So we're getting some green, we add to the yellow, to the red, and you get a brownish. Now I'm adding white to this brownish. Sorry, I'm going to mix on this side. And that's how I dull my white. So it's still sticky, right? Need to wait. Open this side. Now it's very white, but it's going to dry. It's going to darken as it dries, so we're fine. So I got my red bottom, the whitish, yellowish top. And now let's finish the center. It's a dirty yellow. So I'm adding yellow, the light yellow with my brownish right there. And I paint the center. Paint the whole center, don't worry about the seed and the hole in the middle. We'll do that with a lighter brush next. The pink is still not dry. We're gonna wait. Okay, we're gonna paint the over half, and then we'll go back to this one and then the full apple. I hope you're following. Okay, so now I don't know if you can see, but this angle here doesn't look right. It looks like I combined two views. One view from this angle. Sorry. The broadcast is delayed, so it looks like I combined this angle here. And then also the table is seen from above. I don't know if you can see. That looks like the table is seen from above. And then I took the picture from this angle. If you don't see it, that's fine, but I see it, it bothers me, so I'm going to adjust the angle of the table. So if I took a picture of the apple from this side, we're going to lower the edge of the table. You see, yeah, You'll see better what I mean once painted. Even if you don't see the corner of the table here, just by changing this line, the angle of the table matches better the angle of the apples. All right, let's adjust that, and then we're going to finish the apples. I knew something was off, I just couldn't figure it out, so now I know that it's working better. I know that's a big empty space, but it's still better. Right? All right. So here there's just a little bit of red. Right? It's going to be the same process I did. Right? Not too dark. So it's behind the corner of the edge of this apple. So paint behind and above, of course, but the bottom has to be behind. Lighter red here, maybe with a little bit of yellow to paint the cut. I call it the cut. And now let's paint the white. I rinse my brush. A lot of white, one pinch of yellow, one stroke at a time to control my shapes, like that. It's brighter because the light hits really the top of the table, the apple. Unlike this one, right? Right. A lot of white, one pinch of yellow, and the other side. That's too much yellow. It's not bad, but there's still a lot more than I wanted, so let's use what I have here. This more yellow, and I'm going to use more white to finish this edge, one stroke at a time. All right. The center is yellow, so yellow, brown to dull the yellow, and let's paint the center. All right, I like that. Now the other side. So it looks like a dent, but that's the hole. Like orangey. I'm going to make it darker so it doesn't blend too much with the table. All right. And now the moment you've been waiting for, this side. This corner, white, yellow. All right. Not bad at all. So I'm going to make some minor adjustments. I'm going to try to explain what I'm doing, but teeny tiny things, strokes that I just want to adjust. But before that, let's finish this one. We're going to paint the hole. So we're going back to the brown. And just here. Right, it should be darker. There, that's better because that's a strong shadow. It's going to show better the hole. This could be a little bit darker. Okay. Oh, also since I have this dark one, let's paint the shadow here much darker. So the shadow here is wrong because it starts above the base of the slice, right? So let's adjust that as well. It starts from the base, but touches the table. It's not the right color, so let's adjust that as well. The shadow here is good. I like that. Plus it shows like the texture of the table. So it's looking good. All right, so let's adjust everything now. This shadow here is too strong, okay, the edge, so I'm going to soften it. I'm using a reddish brown. I want to make the yellow brighter here. A little bit brighter. And then paint, I'm going to paint the stem. So it's hard to see. I'm going to make it lighter. So it's a light orange. That's some green, but let's call it orange. Top. Right, I should use my smaller brush for that. It doesn't have to be detailed, but it's going to be easier with a smaller brush. So it doesn't look like a just one line. I'm going to paint the shadow this side. See, it looks better already. And then the stem that is cut, it's a dark brown. So just paint the top like that. It stands out from the table. Right. And then because it's lit, guess what? You don't want to forget the shadow. Dark red. And then let's paint the shadow from the hole. And when I curve the shadow, it's not just a straight line. It's a little bit curved. tiny detail, but to make this stem stand out, I need to paint lighter, a lighter yellow in this small space right there. So now you see better the shadow of the stem. All right, I'm done with the small brush. I'll use it later to sign. Let's go back to the big brush. So let me know if you write in a comment if you try to paint with one big brush only, if you like it, if you're successful. Right. I'd like to hear some your thought process. All right. Let's adjust. I want to adjust the edges. I'll keep them loose, but I like the shape. I'll adjust that. This needs to be a little bit more white. It's too yellow and too white. So let's balance this. A little bit of white. A few strokes of white. See, it's more balanced. White here. So the edge looks better. I want this red side to stand out more, so to stand out more from the table. So I'm going to paint more red. Do you see the difference? It stands out much better. And let's make this side fatter, more round. So let's adjust the red on this side as well. So I'm going to finish the white on this side and then paint the center with the seeds. And I think I will paint with actually the edge, the red, instead of adjusting the white. I'm going to outline like that. Better. Now the center, right? As you know, there's a shadow, so shadows also means highlights. So, to suggest the hole here, I'm going to paint the part that is lit. I'll do the same thing on the other half, but less bright. There we go. And I'm gonna need my small brush to paint the seeds. Going back to my brown, and here you have the seed and the shadow at the same time. It should read as, hopefully it reads as a whole, the part lit, and then the shadow and the seed. This one you have two seeds. So one on the left side and one on the right side. So I have to be a little bit more precise to make sure that it reads as holes and the seeds, even though we all know what the middle of an apple looks like. You want to create the illusion of a hole and the highlights and the shadows. All right, I'm almost done. So I'm missing a few lines. So they look better. So I want to add some stripes here. It's very subtle, but I think it's going to help. And then same thing on this side. It's like a light orange. Small adjustments. Before I call it done. All right. A couple more strokes on the table. I want to unify the whole table. There's some yellowish here, so I want to add more on this side. I do need to fix this edge. And then here I need to show the thickness of the table. There's a thick part here. Can make it thicker, so let's add more paint on my brush so it covers the dark. There you go. Otherwise it looks like it's transparent. There you go. There's a thick table here. And then of course, you thought I forgot, but I didn't. I'm going to color this. We need more paint. Let's to color this white. So one last look at my shapes. Okay, it's in proportion. I like the colors. That's the shadow here, the shadow of this half. I think it should be a bit bigger. There you go. That's better. The shadows are good. The shadows are good. It needs more table here. So the shadow is better. I like the textures on my table. This line makes this part of the apple stand out. Let's do another one here. I see the seeds. Let's make the seeds darker. All right. And I'm done. So I will post tomorrow. I'm gonna work away from it, and then I'll post tomorrow on our Facebook group the finished painting. Right. I'll leave the address in the first comment. I'm still gonna sign it tonight. I'm pretty happy with it, so there won't be much to adjust. So I hope you learned something tonight. Feel free to send me your version. I look forward to see what you painted. Et voilà. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next Wednesday.